Welcome to Deb Talk with your host, Deb Darling. On this pod, I'll be asking the hard questions that life throws our way. What some are scared to talk about and others wish they did. Sex, cultura, kids being assholes, overeating, butt sex, shitty jobs, and so much more. I'm on this journey of getting to know myself and others. So come join me! Welcome to Deb Talk with your girl, Deb Darling. And I am here with my special guest, Melissa.
Hey.
Hello, welcome. How are you? How's it
so
going?
Good. I'm really happy to be here. Yeah.
Great. I'm so happy to have you. Please tell the people who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Sure. So I am a balanced dog trainer, and I'm living in Las Vegas right now for a couple more days. I'm actually heading back across the country for a 3-month internship. And Deb and I met back in Boston. It's probably like 4 years ago now, huh?
Maybe a little more. Yeah. About like 4.5 years
like
ago.
That.
Yeah.
So, I'm a nature lover, musician, a writer. That's the gist of me.
Dope. And I met her and I was like, you're so dope. You're awesome. And like from there, when she left, that was when you first, like towards the end of your time there was when you first went on your first trip. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your first cross-country trip?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I guess I'll give some context into like what was the catalyst for me doing that. So the last few years I lived in Boston, I moved around like probably like a dozen times. It was really hard for me to like be in one place due to just like roommate situations, landlord situations. But I had finally moved in with, I had taken over my girlfriend at the time's bedroom in a shared apartment with her girlfriend while she was on a cross-country bike trip. So she was riding her bike across the country. And, with her dad owned the apartment. So it was kind of like a win-win situation. And the plan was to get a place together when she returned from her trip. And it was supposed to be like, I don't know, maybe a few months. I can't remember. But while she was on her trip, she was in Colorado, and I had planned to fly out and spend a week with her because I'd never been to Colorado. And a day before I was supposed to get there, she had met this other woman. And we were in an open relationship, so it was fine. We talked about it. But we spent that whole week kind of just like processing all of that, But it was good. And she was like, I'm so happy we're doing this together. Just like, so happy to like start our life together when I get back. And it was really great. So I get back to Boston, and the day after I got back, I had a 10-day silent meditation retreat. So,
oh my, how did that go?
Well, I mean, considering the circumstances and what I just spent so long processing with her, it was like, then I had to like sit with all of that for 10 days, like in silence, no contact with the outside world. Like, you're not supposed to write. You're not supposed to like do any of anything.
I can't even imagine doing that.
You're not even supposed to make eye contact with the other meditators, the other people who were there for the retreat. So it was really intense. I mean, it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. But like, I had no other option but to deal with my shit, Yeah. So after those 10 days and like processing all of that and like dealing with my own shit, I came out of that like ready to take on the world. Like, I felt like a changed person. And as soon as I turned my phone on after those 10 days, I had a message waiting for me that said, we need to talk.
Oh.
And so basically she ended up breaking up with me while she was on a cross-country bike trip, while I lived in her bedroom and shared the apartment with her sister. So it was devastating, especially after the week that we had together, you know, and it was unexpected.
I was just gonna ask, were there any signs or anything like that she was not in it to win it?
Well, I mean, we were together for maybe 2.5 years, and I think during that week of processing with her and just like, it felt like there was a shift in her. It felt like she was, throughout our relationship, she was kind of flip-floppy. And we had kind of broken it off a couple of different times, but we got back together. And this time it just felt different. It felt like there was a shift. It felt like, oh my God, like we're going to have a life together when she gets back. And she got scared. So anyways, we're friends now. We're cool now, but that took me a long time to process and get over after that. Anyways, so that was my catalyst. That was why I left so abruptly, because I was like, at that point I had moved around so much in Boston, you know, like a lot of my friends had left the city, and I was just like, what is left for me here? You know, I had always wanted to go to California, and one of my best friends, within like a month or two of that happening, she had gotten a job on a cannabis farm in Mendocino County.
That's
so
dope.
It was dope. And she was like, why don't you just come out here? Like, come out here. You can live on the farm. You'll be working all the time. You'll have a job, at least for the season, for a few months. You know, you'll make a bunch of money, and then you can figure it out. And I was like, yes, to all of that. So within, I mean, I don't know, it was fast. It was like within 2 weeks or something like that. I was like, I gave most of my shit away. Like, I had like nice, you know, I was like, you know, I studied audio in college. So like I had super nice speakers. I had like a really nice iMac. I had like a lot of nice stuff. I mean, I wasn't like super into stuff or anything, but it was like, I just gave all my shit away. I packed what I could into my little Prius C. You know, I had like my bicycle, I had some drums, I had like whatever fit in my car, and I just, you know, and luckily, like, the woman I worked for at the dog walking company, she was like super understanding, you know, because it was like very quickly like, I gotta go. You know, I gotta get out of here. I just have to anyway. So that was my catalyst for doing that. And it was, you know, up until that point, I mean, I was maybe like 31. It was like a few years ago now. Yeah. So up until that point, I'd been like, you know, a serial relationship person. I'd always kind of been in some relationship to one extent or another. So that was really my first, and like I lived in New England my whole life. So this was like, it was my first time really like on my own, you know? Jeez. So it was intense, but
you got through it, and here you are.
I did. Oh my God. Yes, I know. It's for real. But you know, that the cross-country trip itself, I mean, I know it's kind of ridiculous to say, but like once I got further west, have you been out west?
Yeah, I've been to California 4 times.
Okay. Have you been to like the Southwest? Like, have you been to Nevada or
no.
like Utah or anything like that? Okay. It's just, I mean, I'll never forget driving through Utah and Nevada the first time. It like I felt patriotic. I don't know if that sounds ridiculous, but it was just like so gorgeous, just open space, you know, like geological formations that felt like you were on a different planet, you know, just like mountains and mountains. And, you know, the first national park I ever visited was on this trip. And I went to Arches National Park, right outside, I think it's in Moab in Utah. And it was one of my first times. I actually took my little Prius off-roading because my GPS just directed me that way, and I didn't realize it. But man, it was just so much open space, so many. I'm such a nerd when it comes to rocks and stuff. So like getting out of my car and just seeing all the cool rocks. When I saw an antelope, and these were like the experiences that were just like so foreign to me, you know, living in like a densely populated New England, you know, having lived in Boston for 10 years. And so it was just a really life-changing experience for me to do that solo. It was really liberating. I think it was one of my first big trips, just going by myself.
It sounds like it would be.
And I do everything solo now. So I mean, I've been on, I don't even know how many road trips since then. So it was the catalyst for kind of like what my life is like now.
Well, dope. I have a lot of questions that I want to ask
Sure.
you. So
yeah.
Before we keep going, this week's inquiry, if you have not noticed by now, it is, how has it been traveling cross country? And right here, as you guys can all see, I have a whole ass expert on the line that we are going to get to the root of all the juicy nitty gritty stuff that you have gone through during this time, because that's extremely interesting, especially being by yourself and having gone through this by yourself and what made you do it and like the whole nine. That's really, really strong.
Thank you.
It's powerful. It shows like that strength that you have, because a lot of people can't spend all that time by themselves. They need people. They need like some type of I don't know what the word I'm trying
I know what you're saying, right? It's like it's hard for us to be alone. We're social creatures, and when we're alone, like, we have to deal with our shit. You know,
everything that you don't usually think about when other people are keeping your mind occupied.
Absolutely. It's that stillness, you know, it's hard for people. And, you know, for me, like I said, like, this was one of my first times where I was kind of truly alone, and just kind of learning so much about myself and how reliant I had been on other people, whether it was my family or my friends, or, you know, whatever relationship I'd had at the time.
What was the biggest thing that you learned? Sorry to interrupt, but what was the biggest thing that you learned about yourself being out there?
On that particular trip?
Oh, well, in general, since starting to travel cross country by yourself.
Oh, God.
But yeah, that particular trip, definitely, because that was your first one. You just did a whole retreat, just came out of a breakup. Like, there's a lot going on through your head. So doing this whole thing by yourself, I'm sure there was so much reflecting that you did.
Sure. I think on that particular trip, I mean, that's such a loaded question. I don't know if I've ever really thought about that question. Like, what was my biggest, you know, takeaway? I think that it was important for me to realize that I could do it alone. So it wasn't my very first time taking such a big trip solo. Like, for my 30th birthday, I actually took myself to Peru for 5 weeks.
I'm from Peru.
You are? You're Peruvian?
Yes, I am.
Oh my God.
I'm part Peruvian. My mom's Peruvian, but yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. Have you been?
Yes, I have. I live there.
Oh, beautiful. Where did you live in Peru?
In Lima.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't actually go to Lima, but I love that country. I love that culture. So I took myself there for 5 weeks. That was my first time traveling internationally and traveling solo. So that was like, that was really like, I learned a lot and my life changed after that. But this particular trip, I think that knowing that I could, I think that the meditation retreat helped me so much. It was just serendipitous that I did that right before, the breakup, because it kind of gave me the tools that I needed. Like, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, like, this too shall pass, like, but when you're just sitting there in silence and that's all you got, like, you truly understand, because you go through so much. You truly understand, like, there's a genuine understanding for the first time, like, I'm gonna be okay. Like, this is gonna be okay. It's not this feeling that I'm feeling, whatever it is, this devastation, this heartbreak, it's not gonna be there forever. Like, I'm gonna move through it. And I think that was really, really important.
When did you come to the realization that you were okay and that you were over that breakup? Was it like way after, or?
Well, so it took me a while. I mean, I'm speaking more of like in each particular moment, coming to that realization over and over again. But when I was on the cannabis farm, I was there for maybe like 3 months or something. I was around other people the whole time. And I was just really engrossed in the work. So it was more of a distraction. And then from there, I actually took another road trip through the Southwest, through Arizona and Utah. And then I decided I was going to move to Phoenix, Arizona for a little while, just kind of randomly. And that was when I really, really had to process and deal with it. So it wasn't until like a few months after, just because of the circumstances, where I really had to just work through it, because then I was in this new city. I had no friends, I had no family around, and it was like I was alone with my own shit. I had my own apartment. That was my first apartment. So that was really challenging for me. I had some really dark moments, like really dark moments. But again, it comes back to the road trip. So just like a little bit of a trigger warning here. I'm going to talk about like some suicidal thoughts and ideations. I was like in a really dark place this particular day. And I decided to just spontaneously take off in my car with my dog. I got a dog when I was in Phoenix. And we just went on a little road trip. And I was just feeling so low, so dark. Like, what is the point anymore, Why am I here? Like, this is awful. This is, and we were, I don't know, it was like right when we like rounded this particular bend of this dirt road where I was in Arizona, just north of Phoenix, and everything just opened up. And it was like just wildflowers and saguaro cacti and just epic views of these mountains. And there was this particular song on this random playlist I had chosen on Spotify. And I don't remember the name of it right now, but there was something about it, like that song, I feel like that song, that particular road trip saved my life.
Wow.
And I actually have a video of it, and I haven't been able to watch it to this day, but I have it still saved, where I'm like, I just randomly started recording. I got out of my car and I was just like, and I just started bawling.
Oh,
like,
man.
and I was like, I'm so happy to be alive right now. Like, so
all those negative thoughts just flushed out, basically.
yeah. I mean, you know, and I still had them, but it was like,
Sounds like less.
yeah, for sure. It was. And I mean, I think I needed that time. I needed to explore the world. You know, I had always waited on other people. I had always like wanted other people to do things with me, and then when they didn't, I just didn't do them. You know, so this was like, I was starting to like work on my own inner demons, you know what I mean, and work through all that darkness and that on my own, and you know, exploring and just being in these amazingly beautiful places. It was so comforting and nurturing to me.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's why I love road trips so much, because I've had so many moments like that, you know, where they've just really kind of shaped who I am in some ways as a person.
And opened your eyes to everything you're capable of as a person.
Yeah, and you know, knowing that like this world, this universe, is just so much bigger than us and our human drama, you know, because like we are so much more than our drama and our ego and, you know, all the bullshit of like day-to-day human business, you know. It's like there is so much more, and it really puts it into perspective.
Yeah, it sounds like it. What's the craziest thing you've seen so far on the road?
Oh, the craziest thing I've seen on the road. Oh, that's a good question. Well, I mean, on the road, I don't know, but on the road, I mean, on one of my adventures, on that first road trip I was talking about, around the Southwest, after I had finished that job at the cannabis farm, I went to Sedona, Arizona. I didn't even know it existed until a friend was like, "You got to go there. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet." So I spent a week there, and I was hiking. This was before I adopted my dog, so I was doing that on my own. And I came across a pack of wild javelina. Do you know what those are?
It sounds like a hyena, so no, I don't know.
I mean, no, essentially they're like wild boar.
Oh.
So I don't think they're technically wild boar, but they're very, very similar. And I didn't even know they existed. So it was pretty terrifying, actually, because I didn't, number one, I didn't even know they existed. So like when they were there, I was like, holy shit. And then it was like, I didn't know how you're supposed to, because, you know, like if you see a bear, you know what to do, right? If you see a mountain lion, like everybody knows you're not supposed to run away from a mountain lion. That motherfucker's gonna chase you. But like, you know, with bears, it's like you're supposed to make a lot of noise, make yourself big. With javelina, I was like, what? I don't know what to do. So luckily on this particular trail, there was actually a really big walking stick at the head of the trail. And I actually started on the hike and I didn't grab it, but it was probably within like 5 minutes of me on the trail, I was like, I'm gonna go back and get that. So like my intuition, I don't know, it knew. So I had that with me, luckily. And I just remember I picked up this giant rock, and I had this giant rock in one hand and this giant hiking stick in the other hand.
Shit.
Oh my God. Have you ever watched Bob's Burgers?
Yes.
Okay, so you know Tina?
Yes.
You know how all the awkward sounds she makes? Okay. So I turned into Tina from Bob's Burgers because I didn't know what to do. And so I was just like, with like every step, because I was like trying to make some kind of a noise, but I didn't know how loud I should be. And it was also like a way for me to expel all this adrenalized energy I had in my body. So but right before I started that, I saw them on the trail, and there was like, it was like 15 of them. Okay, it wasn't just like one or two. It was like a pack, and they had babies with them too. So it was like, I didn't want them to feel threatened, because wild animals can attack when they're like around, when their kids are around. So anyways, I saw them. They were like passing the trail, like, I don't know, a little further ahead. And so I hid behind a tree for a little bit, and I thought that I had given them enough time to pass. And I just kind of waited it out. I was just like, okay, you gotta breathe, like it's gonna be all right. And so then I started walking again, and it turns out I did not give them enough time. And so the trail was like kind of sunken in, and like the ground was kind of raised above me, or just like around the trail. And so there was like, I assume she was the mama, because she was like right to my right, and like the little babies were like right there. And then I just kind of like stopped, and then I saw some more of them to my left, and I was just, and that's when I had the big rock, and I just with each step and in my mind I was like, I'm not going down like this. And
how like big were they?
I mean, they were big. Like, my dog is like 50 pounds, so the biggest one was probably like bigger than him.
Oh wow.
But mind you, I didn't have my dog at the time, so I'm by myself. And the male one, he had like big long tusks. And anyway, so they do this crazy thing where it's like a bark, almost like a squeal, like a bark squeal. I'll never forget it. I can't mimic it. I'm not gonna try. But so the mama started, and she made this awful sound, and then she went to dart at me, and then she booked it. She ran away.
That's so scary.
And then every other one started to do the same thing. And so I'm just like, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep walking. I'm just gonna keep walking. And I had the giant rock in one hand and that big old fucking hiking stick in the other. And I was just like, I'm not going down like this.
That is so funny.
And then, so that was probably one of my scariest experiences along my travels. But a couple of nights later, when I was camping, I got back to my campsite, and this dude comes over. I'm like, "Oh, what are you doing, dude?" And he's like, "Hey, sorry, I didn't mean to like scare you, but just so you know, like there was a javelina wandering around your campsite earlier." And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
They're just following you. They can smell you.
Yeah. So Arizona and javelina and I are just. But yeah, that's probably one of the trickiest things I've come across.
That's actually really hilarious. I'm so sorry to laugh at you, but it is so funny.
No, it's a good story now.
Yeah. It's good that nothing happened, and you can look back and be like, I'm alive. Oh.
Totally. I know. Oh, God.
So, of all of your cross-country journeys, what would you change? Is there anything that you would change?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, as you know, I'm about to head across the country again in 2 days.
Where are you going?
So I'm going to Providence, Rhode Island. I'm doing a 3-month internship at a dog training facility out there.
Nice.
So yeah, right now I'm living in Las Vegas with my mom. I've been here for a little over a year now. And from there, I mean, my plan is to come back west and maybe go to Oregon or something. So in a few months I'll be heading back again. But to be quite honest, like the 3 times I have traveled across the country, they've been kind of on like time limits, and I've been very limited financially. And it's kind of the same thing this time around, especially after COVID. Like I was supposed to leave the last week of March and already be there by now, but I decided to put it off. So I think ideally, like having more money saved, being able to take my time a little bit more, and just like rest and explore some more places. I think that, you know, that would be awesome and ideal, but I always like have a place to be, so I haven't had too much opportunity to do that. But you know, I mean, because I've done it a handful of times already, I've explored, you know.
So how has your love life / your sex life been while being on the road and like traveling and all this stuff?
I mean, so that relationship, I mean, I wasn't interested in anyone or anything like that for a long time. And because I've been, because I've been moving around so much since then, I haven't really been in places long enough to really, I don't know, like to find love, I guess, or like other people, because I was really just more focused on me, and taking that time for me, because like I said, I had been in relationships for pretty much the whole time until that last relationship. So it was like, all right, I'm gonna do me. But last year, I attended this dog training seminar, and I met somebody there, and you know, she lived in California in the Bay Area, and I was actually moving out of the Bay Area. I was on my way to Las Vegas to move to Las Vegas when we met at the seminar. So it's kind of bad timing, but we ended up kind of doing a thing, long distance for a little bit. But you know, it's tough because, you know, she had other shit going on, and our relationship kind of ended pretty badly because, you know, she just had other shit going on and wasn't as invested as I was. And you know, there was some deceitfulness, and she had never been with a woman before, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. And the way it all kind of went down, you know, it hurt, it sucked. And so that I ended things with her about 7 months ago. So for me, I'm like, I'm at kind of a point where I'm like, you know what, it would be nice to like find someone and have a partner again, but I'm just doing me, you know. I'm really focused on my, like, really like becoming a better trainer and learning as much as I can, and just kind of designing my life the way that I want, and like taking more time for me. So eventually, whenever I do find that place where I want to settle down, you know, I might go pretty hard at that.
Do you
but right
think
now
that you'll be good to stop traveling? What if you meet somebody that is just really against going on road trips and driving cross country or anything like that?
No, like what? No,
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, let's put it into context. If I met somebody and we hit it off and we're into each other and I'm really feeling it, but I guess it depends on why. Like, why aren't you into road trips? Like, why aren't you, are you afraid? Like, have you never done that before? Do you just not like being in a car? Because like some people don't like to be in a car and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I don't really like to drive on the highway, and I have to drive from Boston to Florida on Monday, and I am not ready for that.
And like, there's a part, you know, I get that, you know, like being in the car so much is not for everybody. It's just been such an ingrained part of my life also, because like for the past 5 years, my full-time gig, I've driven for Lyft. So, you know, it's just kind of been an integrated part of my life. So I don't really think about it too much. But I don't know if I could be in a long-term committed relationship with somebody who didn't value, travel and exploration of the world, I guess, in the more general sense. And like, you know, what you can learn from that, you know?
Yeah. What do you listen to when you're on the road?
I listen to so many different things. I mean, I'll listen to music sometimes. I'll listen to podcasts, audiobooks, depending on, you know, because sometimes I get a little bored. So I got to like make sure I have it all ready to go. Yeah, it's a lot of podcasts, a lot of sometimes silence, honestly.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I just need that.
I bet. I mean, don't we all?
Yeah.
Just sit in our silence and just
For
keep
sure.
going. What's the longest you've gone driving without having to stop if gas wasn't a problem? Is it an issue?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't really know. Like, even though, like what I just said, like driving has been such an integral part of my life, and I drove for Lyft full time, it's still hard for me to go super long because I'm like such an active person, you know, and it's like, it's not great for your body to just be sitting there for such a long period of time. I also pee a lot. So it's like, this upcoming trip, I've planned it out so that I'm not, except for like my last stretch, my last day, I'm not really going to be doing more than like 8 hours of driving a day. Maybe like 9.5 with like stops and stuff. But yeah, people who can just like drive across the country in like 3 or 4 days, I'm like, what? How did you do that? I don't know, you know?
How long does it take you usually from the West Coast to the East Coast?
I think the few times I've done it, I've probably done it in like 5 or 6 days. And this time,
I'm sorry, do you stay at a hotel or do you stay at like, where do you stay?
So, I have stayed at hotels, yep, and I've camped. This time I am, because a lot of it has to do with COVID, like, but also like I do want to explore certain areas that I haven't been. So what I'm doing, I got this really awesome like self-inflating air mattress from REI that fits in my car. So I'm gonna be sleeping in my car, or if I can't get comfortable that way, I'll just put that in my tent. And I'm going to be doing dispersed camping is what they call it, in national forests all along the way. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of people don't know that not national parks, but national forests, you can actually go into any national forest and camp for free wherever you want. Yeah.
In national camps, you can't.
Oh, national parks? No, national parks, I mean, you know, there's a fee to get into a national park, and then they usually have designated camp areas. But, you know, there are some national parks where you can actually go backpacking into the backcountry. Usually you'll need like, you know, a permit for that or something. But yeah, in national forests, you can just go in. You know, a lot of national forests, they do have designated campgrounds that sometimes will have facilities like, you know, like bathrooms and showers, maybe water, a picnic table, fire ring, and stuff like that. And sometimes those cost just a little bit of money, but you don't have to stay in those. You can camp anywhere for free.
Nice.
So yeah, and most of it is just because of COVID. Like, I want to avoid people as much as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know.
In the future, where's somewhere you see yourself traveling to that you haven't been yet?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know, I haven't made it up to Montana, Idaho, Washington. I want to go up there. I want to explore up there. I really want to go to New Zealand, do some backpacking in New Zealand. Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about international travel too much recently, just because of like the trajectory of my life. But last year, My birthday is in November, not this past November, but the November before that, I took myself to Japan. So it's beautiful there. I love it there.
I want to go.
Yeah, it's a, you know, and a lot of people are like, Japan is so expensive. It's so expensive. But like, you can do Japan on a budget.
How much did you bring with you?
That's a good question. I don't remember. But you can, I mean, there's so many different options for places to stay. I mean, you can go super luxury, high end, whatever, hotel, all that kind of stuff. You can stay in a ryokan, which is like, I don't know, it's kind of like a Japanese resort that has like hot springs and things like that, but it's more like, it's like more Japanese culture and everything like that. And then, you know, there's hostels, there's capsule hotels, which are really freaking cool. If you just need a place to sleep, you know, I paid like $10 for that a night. I think I stayed in the hostel at one point for like $5 or $6.
Oh wow, that is,
you know, like, yeah. And then there's like hotels for like $50, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, Japan is so cool because like even in the convenience stores and stuff, they have healthy, decent food. So you can eat for pretty cheap too. You just have to kind of know, you know. But you know, being from the United States, it's like, excuse me, at the time I lived in San Francisco, so it was really not. It's really not.
San Francisco, I heard, is expensive.
San Francisco is insanely expensive. I actually lived in a van in San Francisco. I couldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to afford it otherwise. But yeah, I lived there for about 1.5 years in my van.
Wow, how was
in
that?
San Francisco. You know, it had its challenges for sure, but I loved it. I love van life.
That's actually what my next, when we talk about when we get into our next segment, I'm going to. So hold that thought. Hold that thought. So, well, that's actually a perfect way to segue into my next segment, which is the weekly shenanigans. And this is where we discuss something we've seen on social media, or a story we heard or we seen. It could be a meme, a picture, a video that blends in well to the conversation. And you just talked about van life, and I read something on Business Weekly, and it was a woman that spent a single night in a camper van with her husband and found a new appreciation for people who do it full time.
Nice.
They rented a truck, bed, camper for a night in February. The quarters can get she said the quarters can get frustrating, and sleeping situation was a little claustrophobic for her. Ultimately, one night was more than enough. So, truth be told, I feel her, and I would not be about that life.
Yeah.
If I just thinking about it, just like gets me anxious, and makes me itch, and makes me nervous. So please tell me your camp life situation.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. I will say that. If you are more of a higher maintenance person, you know, I mean, so the thing about van life that is cool though, you know, RV life, whatever you want to call it, you can kind of do it as luxury as you want if you can afford that, and you can do it as bare bones. So there's such a range there, but I mean, the reality of it, right, is that it is a very small space. So you have to have a layout that makes sense. You have to be very organized with your stuff. You have to have very little stuff, you know. And I actually, so initially I was renting this van out like an apartment from somebody. Found him on Craigslist. Okay, I was taking a risk here. But at the time, I was technically homeless and I needed to figure some shit out. So I took this risk, and I ended up paying this dude $500 a month to live in this van. Eventually, I was like, this is stupid. I'm going to buy it from you. So I did end up buying it from him. But
how much did it cost?
How much did he sell it to me for?
Yeah.
It was like $4,000.
Oh, that's
ultimately.
Not bad.
I mean, it needed a lot of work. So like, I didn't do typical van life in the sense where I was like taking trips in it. I was literally like, it was parked on a street in San Francisco, you know, like, and I had to move it for street cleaning, but that was pretty much it. And, you know, I mean, it had solar, so I had limited, electricity inside, but the layout of it was not great. And it was hard because I lived on the street and I was trying to be stealth. So it was just like a typical, like, kind of white work van kind of. So it wasn't like you looked at it and you knew somebody lived in there, which I liked, being in the city, a city like San Francisco, where it's known for so many break-ins, you know. But I did do minimal work on it inside, but it was really hard to do because I didn't want people to see me doing it, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, if I had like a better layout, I think it would have been better, but I did actually really enjoy it, and I would love to get another one. I ended up selling it so that I could attend that seminar, that dog training seminar I was talking about, and then I moved down to Vegas, but I sold it to a friend of mine, so it's kind of still in the family. Nice. Still running.
So where did you go to the bathroom and like do all that?
Oh, okay. So where I parked the van, it was right next to a park that had like baseball fields, and it was like a little rec center for kids. And so the bathrooms were there were public bathrooms that were open usually from like 5 or 6 a.m. until like 10 p.m. So and I drove for Lyft when I was in San Francisco, so I actually used a lot of public restrooms throughout the day. And then, my body just kind of regulated to my routine. Like, I had like a bucket toilet with compostable bags in there for like emergencies. And I think I maybe only had to use it 1 or 2 times. But yeah, I mean, those are things that, like, there are always workarounds, and it's not ideal. So like, if you need a toilet, like, or if you need to have fully running water, I mean, you can design your van in a way where you can have those things. But I didn't at the time. So there were some challenges, but I worked out like 4 or 5 days a week. I went to a rock climbing gym, so I would just shower after my workouts. It was fine. Yeah.
Oh, that's I wouldn't be able to do it, so props to you. Yeah, do you have a weekly shenanigans for this week?
Weekly shenanigans? To be honest, not really. I mean, I've just been kind of like focusing on getting ready for my trip. So
okay. No worries. So then let's slide on into the weekly check-in, and this is also something that is a current, well, not also something. This is a current event topic that we're catching up on. Something, it could be something you saw on TV or a movie or a show or on social media, in a magazine, in the news, that you thought that was worth talking about. For me, I've been watching The Walking Dead, and I'm on season 5, episode 11. And a guy rolled up on Rick and the gang while they were in the barn, and he started calling them survivors, and he had been spying on them and had been following them for a while and all these things, and wanted them to come back with him to his camp and all these things. And he was saying how they were super dope for not turning on each other. And as you see throughout the show, like, a lot of different groups end up turning on each other or killing one another or eating each other or whatever the case. And they haven't done that. They're always just there for each other. It was like super admirable. And I was like, this is really dope. And I thought I should talk about it because I'm always talking about The Walking Dead now that I started watching it. And I was so against it for the longest time, but I'm happy.
So that show is my shit. I love that show. If there's a show, I mean, aside from Parks and Recreation, I love that show too. I just finished watching it for a second time. But oh my God, The Walking Dead, like, I don't remember exactly the episode that you're talking about. It's been a while since, I've watched it, but just the whole plot line and like what they show, what humans kind of turn into in like an apocalyptic situation, like the things people do for survival, and it really brings out people's character, right? Like that show is insane.
I know. I watch it and I'm just like, I always say I wouldn't do that, and I'm like, shit, would I do that?
Would I?
I don't know.
No. I don't think you could know in any situation like that. Like, I would like to think that I would survive a zombie apocalypse. I'll tell you what, I am really good with a bow and arrow. So
That's cool.
I think that's probably what I would rock. Yeah.
I would probably be like Michonne. Yeah, I would be there with a sword, and I'd probably just like chop up bitches like all day.
Yeah, she is so badass. She's one of my favorite.
So badass. Like, so
Yeah,
for the longest time, I was really against the show because I was like, this is disgusting. Like, I don't want to see, because all I would see from it was like the little bits and pieces of like killing zombies, and I was like, I don't care about this. But then this last time, my daughter's father, he was like, do you want to just try? I was like, sure. So then he put the first episode, and I was like, okay. Then the second episode, okay. And then we've just been watching it, and now I'm in season 5, and I'm like, I'm here for the show.
Yeah,
I like it.
Because it's about our human affliction. It's about what it means to be human and to be a good person. And to like overcome some serious fucked up shit. And to help people, it's like, yeah, it's such a good show. I remember when when I first started watching it, though, I could not watch that alone. I could not watch it at night before bed. I could not do that.
That is funny. Yeah, I enjoy it. I can watch episode after episode. We've been binging since last week, and every day, and I'm like, I need to stop. I'm not even done packing because he's always just like, do you want to watch Walking Dead? I'm like, yeah. And I'm leaving on Monday, and I still have so much to do. It's not his fault completely. It's obviously my fault because I need to be like, no, and get shit done. But yeah. So do you have a weekly check-in?
Oh,
have you been watching anything, or have you seen a movie or anything?
I like I said, I just finished Parks and Recreation again. Have you watched the show?
I have.
Do you like it? Do you love it?
I love it. It's so funny. It is the funniest shit.
Yes, it is so funny, and the actors in that show, I mean, they are so good. They are so good at with their characters, and like it was so comforting to me because like they're just so funny and real, and it was kind of like hanging out with my friends. I know that sounds ridiculous, I'm like, I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of that stuff, but this show has a special place in my heart.
Do you have a favorite episode so far?
Oh my God, yes. I don't remember what the name of the episode is, but it's this one episode where, I don't know if you remember, Tom, he has everybody go to the Snake Hole Lounge because he's promoting some drink that he created. Do you remember that?
Probably not. It's been a while since I've watched it.
Oh my God, it's just hilarious. Everybody just gets really drunk, and then there's just these one little scenes where, I mean, they're just so on point with their characters all the time, and it just goes through like, everybody just like what they're like when they're super drunk, and I just lost it. It's just so funny, so good.
Nice. Yeah. Parks and Recs was really good when I was watching it. I haven't watched it in a while. I do want to watch it over though, for sure.
Yeah.
So we can go right on into our last segment, which is the listener Q&A. I don't have any. So do you have a story or a question that you'd like to share?
Well, you keep talking about you moving. You're about to take a trip. What's up with that? Where are you going? Why are you leaving?
So my family moved to Florida maybe like 8 years ago. And I was like, okay, cool, bye. And then I'm on to my second kid. So I really wanted to be closer to my mom and my sister, my grandmother. I'm like, I just want some family love, some family time.
Sure.
So a lot of
Wait,
things were...
you're pregnant with your second kid?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
congrats.
Thank
That's
you.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So because of that, I was telling my daughter's father, I really just want to go. And we had been talking about moving. We just didn't know where. So last year we went to Florida. When we went to Florida, we went to Orlando, and I was like, I want to live here. Like, it's so kid friendly, it's family friendly. Like, they say the craziest people come from Florida, but it's like, I don't even care. It's not like I'm going to be out and about. Like, I probably am, but I'm going to be away from people. So hopefully I can just stay away enough from the crazies. But yeah, so then this year it just happened to be a blessing in disguise, and we're leaving on Monday, and he's coming down on August 1st. And yeah, so that's what I'll be doing.
Do you have concerns about traveling right now with COVID and everything like that, and being pregnant and with a kid?
Oh, absolutely. Because like we are gonna end up staying, because our mom's coming. She's flying up. So I'm really nervous because we originally were going to fly it down, and I was like, okay, no, because I'm really scared of getting on a plane. Just like that's the worst. That's the worst place you can be.
I mean, planes are gross when there's not a fucking global pandemic.
Exactly. I'm just like, no. So I ended up canceling those tickets, and then I was like, well, I still need to go because like at this point we have to go. Like there's no going back. But then I realized, fuck, it's gonna be a couple of days because I can't sit for too long. So I'm like, we're gonna have to stay at a hotel or like a motel or something. And then I found out that not all hotels are accepting people because of everything that's happening.
Totally.
So now I'm stressing over that because I just found this out yesterday, and I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And
so your mom's gonna help you with the driving part of it?
Yeah, for the most part, because I got in an accident while we were driving from Pennsylvania to Boston, and like the car flipped 5 times, and it was just like really traumatizing. So ever since then, I've just really, I don't like long trips in the car.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I've been really anxious about the drive. So my mom was like, don't worry about it. Like, well, we can take turns. Like, you'll drive 2 hours or whatever you can drive. And I'm like, yeah, I don't mind driving. I guess my biggest fear is somebody else driving, but I don't think I can drive for that long. So I'm like, fuck. It wasn't my mom driving when the accident happened. It was my grandmother, and she was doing a bunch of shit when it happened. So it was all her fault. So I don't want to blame her, but it was.
That's crazy.
Yeah, she was like,
is she okay though?
She's fine. Like at the moment she wasn't fine. Like her arm, the only window that was open was hers. She like her arm kind of like, you know when the walkers bite you and it's like a big hole. Literally, like you could see the bone and like everything. Like her arm hit the ground every time the car flipped. So like she had a big hole in her arm for like a while. But she's fine now.
That's crazy.
So
oh my god, I'm so glad you're okay though.
Oh, Jesus. Me too. I'm just traumatized for life, but I'm good overall.
I mean, car accidents are so scary. I mean, here in Vegas, I can't even tell you how many car accidents I've seen. People who drive like maniacs here, and somebody rear-ended me just a couple of months after I moved here.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, somebody rear-ended me 2 days after it was 2 days after my birthday, I believe. And I had my daughter in the car. I was so pissed because I was driving maybe like 20 miles an hour, less than that. And I slammed my brakes because this man was about to cross the street, but he didn't see me. So I slammed my brakes, but she was like, I slammed them looking at my mirror to see how far away she was, but she was texting, and then she just slammed into me. I was so mad.
Dude. Okay, you know how, I just want to tell you how this happened, right? Because it still gets me. It's so fucked up. So I'm like driving. I was driving for Lyft at the time. I actually had a passenger in my car.
Oh,
So I'm driving. I have a green light. The speed limit is probably like 40 miles per hour. So I'm like going the speed limit. And everybody was stopped, but I didn't. I had a green light, so I just kind of went. And all of a sudden, a fucking cop comes and he walks out in front of me. He just walked out in front of me. Like I didn't see him until the last minute. So I had to slam on my brakes. And the guy behind me rear-ended me. But like there was not like there was no reason for him to do that. I mean, ironically, an accident had just happened. So that's why he was like kind of trying to stop traffic, but like you couldn't have done that a safer way.
I know, that's crazy. He caused another accident trying to like stop another accident.
Dude, fuck cops, okay?
Right?
Can I just say that? Like, fuck the police.
Oh, fuck the police. Fuck the police.
And he didn't even like he didn't even like apologize. He barely even asked me if I was okay. And then he was like, get over there. I was like, I want to punch you in your face right now.
Holy shit. I would have been so mad. But then I probably would have got arrested. So maybe I probably would have just not said anything either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, to everyone, if you have any stories or questions or anything, send them right on over to deb.talkk@gmail.com. Again, that's deb.talk with an extra K at the end @gmail.com. And I will answer them here on the podcast. So please let everyone know where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on Instagram. I try and post every day. I just started a little TikTok, so I'm trying to up my TikTok game. But you can find me at Head to Tail Dog Training. Yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Yes, and everyone, please remember to subscribe and comment and rate us on iTunes and everywhere else you listen to your podcast. Thank you for joining me on this amazing podcasting journey. And yeah, we started this podcast asking, how has it been traveling cross country? And as you can see, it hasn't been easy, and most things aren't, but mostly self-reflection and learning yourself and teaching yourself how strong you are. And
Amen.
If you have a goal, just set your mind to it and you can reach it. And yeah, like always, everyone, keep an open mind and an open heart. Till next time, toodles.
Bye.